Mighty Merp is available on iTunes, Spotify, and all your favorite apps and players. But the best way to experience the show is to visit mightymerp.com. That's mightymerp.com.
Welcome to the Mighty Merp podcast. I'm here with Eric Lubin, who's a managing partner at Lomurro Law. My name's Melissa Rosenblum, and also known as Mighty Merp. Hey, Eric, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much for having me on.
Thank you for joining the Mighty Merp podcast.
My pleasure.
I'm surprised you're not wearing any pink right now, but...
You know what? I figured I would let you handle that, and I would try to look like I was a professional.
Well, you did a good job on that. So,
thank you.
I do want to talk a lot about what you're doing now at Lomurro Law as a managing partner and what that means, especially from someone who's a solo practitioner. But before we get there, we're going to have to rewind and start with a little bit of Eric's origin story. Maybe
back when I had hair.
Back when you had hair. You had hair?
That was a while ago.
Even back before you went to college and law school, like, where did you grow up? Did you know you wanted to be a lawyer? Sort of your origin story.
Sure. I was actually born outside of Massachusetts, or outside of Boston in Framingham, Massachusetts, and I lived there till I was about 4 years old. So I used to have the, caw and ah, used to drag my words. And then my family moved back to the Philadelphia area, where I stayed all through high school. I went to college at the University of Pittsburgh. I had no idea I wanted to be a lawyer. I had no lawyers in the family. I knew I didn't want to get a job right away, and I knew that I should probably do something school related. So my grades weren't good enough to go to medical school, and I can't really remember why I went to law school. It was not for a love of law or anything like that, but it turned out to be a passion of mine. So I took the LSATs, went to the best law school in Delaware, Widener University, and that's how I ended up here, basically. So no great story, except I just was not ready to get a job out of college.
Well, what did you study when you were an undergrad?
I was a dual major of psychology and economics.
And when you did that, did you have any idea what you were going to do with that?
For a time I did. When I was in college, it was 9/11, and I thought about dropping out and joining a law enforcement agency or something related to that, or getting a degree and then going into some type of intelligence agency. I thought that would have been cool, something to do, good, patriotic. I got talked out of that by my parents, who said, every single generation of the Lubin family has served in the military. You will not do that, nor will you get any tattoos. So that quickly went away. And I just, the market went bad after 9/11. I'm kind of remembering this in my head, so I thought maybe something in finance or economics probably not the best idea. So I chose law.
Gotcha. So I also went to Widener, now known as Delaware Law School.
Yep.
And so you went to law school, gave you a little bit of time to figure out what you wanted to do when you grew up. And did you like law school?
I did. Law school was the first time I truly took my education seriously. I found myself really enjoying the Socratic method of having the responsibility to be called on and be prepared. I liked learning about things that I can actually apply in the real world, like criminal law, those type of things. I found a passion for education and learning in law school that I did not have before it. I chose wisely, and I got lucky.
Yeah, I love law school too. I would have loved to just stay a student for longer than the 3 years.
That's because these scrimmages, the bar that was right across from the campus.
That could be true as well. I was already married. I was like commuting back and forth. I didn't have that extra 3 years of college.
Yeah.
So when you graduated, did you do a clerkship or did you go straight into practicing?
No, I had the best clerkship in the world. I clerked for Judge Garofalo, the presiding judge of the Atlantic County Criminal Court. He was my first true professional mentor. He was an amazing guy. I actually owe him a telephone call, which I will do right when we're done. So I clerked in Atlantic.
Oh, I was going to say, do you still talk to him? I love Judge Garafola, and
Not really. I just on a whim we started doing a little bit of messaging on LinkedIn, and I told him that when I got back from Disney, I'd give him a call, and I just got back, and I haven't lived up to my word yet, so I will.
so I'm giving you some Jewish guilt as well during the interview.
It's okay. I'm used to it.
Okay. So when you clerked for Judge Garafola, did you know you wanted criminal, or is that just the clerkship you obtained and so you took it?
I did not know what I wanted to do, and I took the clerkship because of Judge Garofalo. I had such a great interview with him, and I really got the sense that this would be a great learning experience, and we just clicked. We truly did click over a few things. So I chose the clerkship because of the judge, not so much the subject matter. I was interviewing with civil judges too.
And in Atlantic or all over New Jersey?
All over New Jersey.
And so after your clerkship, where did you go?
After my clerkship, I went to Jacobson Barbone, which is a well-known litigation firm in Atlantic City. I think I had 48 hours of free time in between the end of my clerkship and the beginning of my career at Jacobson Barbone. And that was the last time I had 48 hours free in the next 7 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I have a lot of attorneys say that the clerkship was their best year of practicing. How long have you been practicing now? 15 years?
Yeah. I don't think so. I liked the clerkship. It was great. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot. Judge Garofalo was so good about keeping me involved and teaching me, and I got to work with Judge Neustatter, who's passed on, but he was a great mentor too. But no, I to be honest with you, I'm not trying to be hokey. Each year since the last couple of years have been the best. It's just my career's grown, my practice areas have grown, my responsibilities have grown, my clients are growing, my challenges and the types of things I do are maturing and evolving. I'm enjoying what I'm doing now the most of my whole career.
That's great. So I've heard a lot about Jacobson Barbone because you know that my former partner also was an alum of Jacobson Barbone, and I'm friendly with some other alums. So tell me about this law firm. It's very well known as a criminal law firm, although it does family and civil, right?
Sure.
And as you mentioned, it was the 48 hours between was the only 48 hours that you had to rest. So describe the work atmosphere, the background of how many attorneys there are and the type of law firm Jacobson Barbone is.
Sure.
Or what?
So I spent, I believe, 7 years there, which is probably close to a record besides for Ed Jacobs and Lou Barbone. They are the best trial attorneys you'll ever meet in your life. They are the hardest working lawyers you'll ever meet in your life. It's a really interesting place because it's a smaller firm, boutique firm on Pacific Avenue in Atlantic City. You hear about these things about how they're tough on associates and everything else, but the reality is, they are both just unbelievably hardworking people, and they expect you to be it too. And there's no yelling or screaming or anything like that. They just expect you to carry your weight, and they've got big clients and big responsibilities. So, if you don't, that's going to hurt the file or the client. So, they got to do something about it. But learning from Ed and Lou were I wouldn't be where I was today. I had a lot of luck there where Lou just took me under his wing, gave me responsibility. He's a very serious guy, and he's got very, very serious clients, and he's involved with very, important, substantial matters. But he's a father, and he's a family man, and he was great to me. He taught me, took time to teach me. I've had the benefit of trying cases with both Ed and Lou. I think Ed and I tried a murder case together. Lou and I have tried employment cases together. And then that culminated in the trial where the three of us tried a case together in federal court for about 3 months. Having the opportunity to watch them, to truly watch them and learn from them and be involved in that process. I mean, it takes years off your life. It does. But you learn how to do your trade craft. Watching Ed and Lou conduct a cross-examination, you can't learn from anybody better. Watching what goes into the preparation of a case, watching what goes into, just talking to witnesses, those type of things, thinking outside the box. It was great. Now, I learned the most from that firm from another attorney, Art Murray, our friend. When I first started at the firm, Art was standoffish, as he always is with everybody. And then once you break down that barrier, Art is one of the smartest people you'll ever meet, just from an intelligence-wise. But he knows the court rules in and out. He knows everything about the law in and out. And he was very, very, critical in me doing that too and learning to do that to be a practitioner. And Art also taught me, be nice to people. Be good to your adversaries. Be reasonable. Give an extension if it's not going to hurt your client. You're always going to need one later on. So learning from Art actually was the most important part of my legal career at Jacobs Barbone. But the firm, they punch well above their weight in terms of the results they get, the cases they handle, for the size that they are. It was an amazing experience, and even up here in Monmouth County, and when I have cases up north, they're known. It's an amazing place to be.
So let me ask you, when you were there are so many things to unpack in that whole thing, so I'm going to see if I can. When you were there, were you doing just criminal? It sounds like you were doing a little bit of everything while you were there.
No, we were doing everything. I did criminal. I had first-degree cases. I had attempted murder cases. But Jacobs Barbone does a lot of different things. So a lot of employment law. I had never heard of the Whistleblowing Act, the Conscientious Employee Protection Act. Lou is one of the best practitioners in that. So I learned how to practice employment law. We did a lot of civil law, whether it's representing or suing casinos under gaming regulations. We've done huge contract cases. The last case that I had there involved a $3 or $4 million casino card malfunction case that was all over the news. We represent celebrities. It was a really cool time, and it was really great because now I'm a jack of all trades. At least I like to think I am. And I learned that from Jacobs Barbone. You learn the part 1, the part 2, the part 3, the part 4 rules, and you can basically almost do anything. And not only that, but they do it in federal court too, just as much as state court. So it kind of gets rid of that whole mystifying difference between two courts.
Right. And so you talk about Art Murray. So I know he's going to hate that we're having this conversation.
Oh, absolutely. I'm probably getting a text message right now.
Yeah, I'm checking. My phone started to explode as I said his name. So, but I would agree with you on the court rules. And also, he is someone that when you are in that inner circle, he is, so great and an amazing advocate and a supporter. Although, I didn't work at Jacobs and Barbone. I could see him being standoffish in the sense of, is this one staying or not? And if I know you're staying, I'll commit to you afterwards.
Absolutely.
Is that fair? Yeah. And then the last thing I'd say about Art is he just is always available if you just want to say, I need to confirm this. I'm pretty sure, the court rule, or can you send me a case? Yesterday he was sending me cases. And funny, Stuart, his boss, was also texting me and emailing me, asking me to send him cases. It was like, yeah. So,
Art told me something that I preach to our associates, and it has given me a level of comfort over the years, which is there's no real emergencies in the law, which is true. You freak out about deadlines, you freak out about this, and unless it's a statute of limitation or something else, Art's take a breath, relax. You got time, you'll figure it out, get some sleep. And that's always kind of lowered my blood pressure a little bit.
That's good. So 7 years at Jacobs and Barbone, how did you know, and this is always an interesting kind of dilemma, how do you know when it's time to either move on or switch gears? How did you know after 7 years that you were going to leave Jacobs and Barbone or decide to leave?
That decision was made for me because I was thinking about what type of... I fell in love is really what it is. I fell in love with my wife. We were living in Toms River. At the time, Ed, Lou, and I were trying a very, very $150 million golden parachute case in federal court in Camden. And I was driving down to Jacobs Barbone, Atlantic City, going to Camden, doing work afterwards, coming home at 11 at night. And I just said, I don't know if I can maintain this, this relationship. And I wanted to. I was in love. And luckily, I had a friend from law school who we also clerked together. He clerked for, I think, Judge Todd, reach out to me and say, hey, I heard you're in Toms River. We're 15, 20 minutes away. Let's talk. And that was the point where I said, I just can't commute anymore. So it was a commuting issue. It wasn't anything else. To be honest with you, I got it callous to the work of Jacobs Barbone, because you learn a work ethic and you learn what it's, and things get easier as you get better at it. And I enjoyed working with Lou. I enjoyed working with Ed. People say I'm lying. I did. I loved working with Art. Teresa is my second mother at that firm. I loved working there. The only weird thing was the bars on the window. I don't know if that was to keep you in or keep people out, but it was a commuting thing. I fell in love. My wife's medical practice was in Toms River. I wanted to spend more time with her, and that was the deciding factor. It really was it. But I loved working with everybody there.
No, the commute and family is an issue. For me, I ended up having to move my family down to Atlantic County because I was commuting from Cherry Hill, and I had 4 kids. It just and I jokingly say my part-time job when I started lasted about 30 seconds, but I just couldn't keep commuting. My kids were needing me. And so I did it the opposite. We just found a house where I was working and then moved them down. Did you go straight from Jacobs and Barbone to Lomurro Law?
I did. I think probably I got maybe 72 hours worth of a break that time, but I did. So I remember that we went to France on our honeymoon, came home, and I said, I think it's time to do this because I want to spend more time with my wife. We had just gotten married, and I didn't see an opportunity with all the commuting I was doing. It's just 2 hours commuting a day, and sometimes 4 when we're going to federal court in Camden. So that was the origin of it, the impetus of it. So yeah, I went right to Lomurro Law 2 or 3 days later.
So what's the difference of the firms? Is there a difference in size, in atmosphere, in the type of law you were doing when you switched?
2 totally different places. Jacobs Barbone is a one-of-a-kind place where it is sink or swim. I don't want to say cutthroat because it's not cutthroat. It wasn't like that at all. I've never had.
Well, it's not cutthroat with the attorneys that were there in the sense of, as somebody, again, I didn't work there, but I know a lot of the alum, and it seemed like you all were extremely supportive of each other, but cutthroat in the hours and the getting the work done, right?
More difficult, more intense. When I joined Lomurro Law, I believe there were almost 70 attorneys. Much more of a corporation, definitely more of a corporation. There were big attorney meetings. Everybody was wearing a suit in the office, even if they didn't have court. It was much more structured just because of the amount of people. Now, I joined Lomurro Law, and a month later, the firm split in 2.
Oh, I was going to say, I have to take this back. How many? Yeah. So Jacobs and Barbone is how many attorneys? How big of it was?
When I left, it was, and I might be wrong here, I believe it was me, Ed Jacobs, Lou. I can't remember if Art had left before or after me. And Mike.
Steve still there?
Who?
Steve?
No, I think Steve had left before that. So gotcha. Only 3 or 4 when I left.
Gotcha. So going from there to 70 attorneys.
Yes.
Wow. That's a big difference.
Huge difference. Total culture shock, total everything. It was different, and it took a little bit to get used to because Jacobs Barbone was so fast-paced, and this place was a little bit slower, a little bit more of a, like I said, a corporation motif vibe, but your blood pressure went down a bit.
How many attorneys? You said there were 70, but then the firm split. And so what happened with the split?
I think it was just 2 different practice groups decided to split. There was a law review article that came out during the split, and it described just two different firms under one roof. One was corporate, wills, trust, real estate, and then the other was contingency, personal injury, medical malpractice, workers' compensation, and it turned into two firms of two totally different practices and I think core values and beliefs. So it literally just split down the middle. And that was probably about a month afterwards, and I remember saying, wonder if Jacobs Barbone will take me back. And then, but I gotten to know Don Lomurro, one of my partners. I was, good friends with Rich Lomurro, his son, and I'd made great friends here. So I stayed. I stayed, and it was the best thing I possibly could have done. It was cool. We were part of a practice group that left the building where we'd always practiced out of. We went to a new office that had really no furniture. We had to buy new computers. It was like Apple starting from a garage with 25 lawyers. And it was cool, it was fun, it was exciting, it was scary as hell. And now we are, we're thriving. It's unbelievable where we went in 6 or 7 or 8 years, how long it's been. But it was really, really cool to be a part of. And it's just been the best decision that I've made professionally.
So when the split, you said there's like 25 attorneys that stayed with you, with the group that you stayed with. Is that how many?
I could have been off. I think I may be exaggerating how many left. I think maybe 10 or 13, because I think we're in the 20s now. But I think it was 10 or 13 that originally left. I'm thinking in my mind, but.
And you were part of, in the end, that group that left because you were leaving with Rich.
Yeah. It was scary. Real scary.
Yeah, and you were an associate at the time.
I was an associate. I think I was probably the newest associate too.
All right. So you are now a managing partner. So before you became the managing partner, you became a partner.
Yes.
Or did it all occur at the same time? See, as somebody who is from, as you know, I am a solo practitioner. It's me and my paralegals, my staff. I came from a firm where it was me and one other attorney, really. And so even though we were partners, it was still a very small field, So I'm trying to figure out the bigger law firm, medium law firm, culture.
Sure.
Sort of how do you...
Everyone's different, and it's basically the titles are as creative as you can get, but we have associate, partner, and being a partner means you have different perks, different responsibilities, but you have no ownership in the firm. And then you have equity partner, which means you're a shareholder. And then you have co-managing partner, which myself and another attorney are. And we also have some of counsel in and out. We've had retired judges work for us. We've had retired prosecutors work for us. And I don't really know if we have any of counsel right now or not. I have to check the website. But those are the kind of different levels we have. I deal with really big firms that have junior associate, senior associate, mid-level associate, of counsel, non-part, it's just.
So, managing partner, what does that mean?
That means that I have to keep the wheels turning internally, have a vision, make sure everybody gets along, make sure that we are doing the right things ethics-wise, that we are practicing with excellence, that we're being good to each other. All the things that you think that a manager does, you do that and more. I don't know how Don Lomurro did it for 40 years by himself, and also practice law. So, give you an example of today. I've had 20 people in my office, some talking about ideas of cases, some asking about marketing ideas. We're filling one of our admin staff roles, so talking about that, talking about salaries, bonuses. I'm part of another forum of managing partners in the state of New Jersey. We speak about that a lot of the times, where we can discuss, what's your firm doing for leave policies? What's your firm doing for bonus policies? Figuring that out. We've hired a few new associates, kind of figuring out where they're going to fit in. And just, a lot of it is just talking things through with people and making sure that our executive staff is executing it. Sounds impressive, but it's a lot of talking and a lot of, smoothing over rough edges.
Well, you have to get along with everyone. Do
You
you have a
do.
marketing department in your firm as well?
We have a marketing committee. We also are exploring third-party marketers for social media, online, digital marketing. It's just that area is moving too fast to where if you don't stay up with it, it's like law. If you don't stay up with it, if you don't follow it, you're going to get left behind, and things you're doing are not going to be effective anymore. So we are considering that role of bringing somebody on. We don't do it like Mighty Merp, but we try. And for our practice areas, we see different models happening, and we got to keep up with them. For example, billboards, those type of things where you're seeing them all over the major roads now. For a firm like ours that does a lot of personal injury, a lot of medical malpractice, you got to keep up with that. That's just a target-rich environment that you have to operate in with the marketing to the general public.
Well, it's funny because I have a friend who's involved in the billboard business, and I was saying recently, it's funny that you mentioned it, most of the ads that I'm seeing on billboards in and out of Atlantic City and on the way into Philadelphia are attorneys. And
Sure.
I never noticed that before, but I think in the last year or so, it's all law firms, and
Yeah.
it's
And a lot of them are law
surprising to
firms
me.
that don't even have offices where they're advertising.
Correct,
You know? And
correct.
that's kind of something that has been a little bit of a pet peeve of mine is, we're in the community. We are in the Monmouth community. We're in the Ocean community. We live there. We've got children that go to school there. We sit on boards there. We have dinner there. And a lot of the marketing has been law firms that are not here, that want to give the appearance of being here, that want to give the appearance of, hey, come see us. You can't. And it's been something that I've noticed over the last couple of years, but it is what it is. Things change.
Yeah, I mean, I have that same feeling sometimes when, you know, clients are calling me after hiring someone that is not from our area and community. And you know this about Atlantic and
Sure.
Cape May and Cumberland is we're really small here, and so I don't know if this is true with every type of law, especially if you're doing federal practice. But in the type of law that I do specifically, there is a home field advantage. There just is. Because we're dealing with prosecutors and judges, and even just explaining to a client like what the possible resolution is based on who the judge is or who the prosecutor is. You can't do it if you don't know who they are. I mean, I always will say, like, I can try a criminal case anywhere in the state, but to negotiate or to tell a client what to expect with a judge or a prosecutor, I can't do that anywhere across the state because I don't know all the judges. I don't know all the prosecutors.
You're exactly right. I mean, you can never guarantee a result because you know somebody or anything, but you 100% can get familiar with the personalities involved, the processes involved. I mean, look, I tried a case not too long ago from my living room, a probate case in Bergen in front of a judge. And it was an interesting thing. I had no familiarity with the judge. I kind of felt, it's a great result, everything, but I kind of felt, I wish I was trying this in a different county. Not the judge was great. Judge was the nicest guy you possibly be. You're just not familiar with the procedures. I'll give you an example. Filing a motion in Bergen County probate is different than filing a motion in Ocean County probate. It's just two totally different things. Getting somebody on the phone in Monmouth is easy, as opposed to other counties, especially when he's, hey, I'm blah, blah, blah from Lomurro law. Oh, okay, let me help you out. Not help you out, but let me talk to you about this. It's 100% true. As when I did municipal court, walking into municipal court, seeing the prosecutor, waving to him, getting to the front of a line, those type of things. Absolutely, it makes you feel more comfortable, and you can tell your client, hey, I can't promise anything, but when other people have had this case, here's what I've seen before, and it's true.
Right. It's funny that you use that language because it's exactly the same language that I give. I always say, I'm not making any promises. There's no guarantees. What I'm telling you based on my experience, because I've been with this judge or this courtroom or these facts, this is usually what happens. But, and I think anyone listening to this who does not practice law at all would be shocked to hear filing in probate in Bergen is different than filing in Monmouth. But every county has its own little unique
Absolutely.
way of doing things. And I just had a case where I filed a notice of motion for a new trial. I wasn't the trial attorney. I was hired after the trial. And I've been asking for months for a briefing schedule, waiting for the transcripts, waiting for the briefing schedule. And then the prosecutor said to me last week something to the effect of, well, the judge is going to move to sentencing. And I said, I still haven't gotten my briefing schedule, and then we had to like conference it. And it was a little bit of an oversight, but I did have to say, this is Atlantic City. Do you hear that?
No.
Do you hear that?
A
Okay.
little bit, yeah. I thought you could hear the horrible hailstorm going on during the beginning of this.
No. So when we conferenced the case, I did say, Your Honor, I've sent multiple letters requesting a briefing schedule. Is this something different in your county that is not how Atlantic or Cape May does it? And that's what the home field advantage is. And as you say, in Monmouth, you can say I'm calling from Lomurro Law Firm and it carries weight. It's the same for me in this county. They know who I am.
You're not going to do anything on substantively. They're just going to be, hey, let me tell you, let me give you information. And one of the things that I've noticed, having tried cases in multiple counties, that there really does need to be a uniform trial rule, whether it be, Monmouth has this golden ticket rule, which I thought was great. You're going to get a trial date during COVID. It's not real unless you have a pre-trial conference and you have a golden ticket. Then you actually don't have to pay experts. You don't have to get witnesses. You don't have to pay thousands of dollars to show up and say, you're not trying this case. As opposed to other counties where they're going back to the quote-unquote cattle call. Show up, get ready, and we'll tell you if you're one of the 30 chosen that day. So, being comfortable and knowing the directions is kind of how I tell clients. I know the directions of Monmouth. I know the directions of Middlesex. I know how they operate. Ocean, I know how they operate. Is not the same as saying, hey, I know this judge is going to do this because he knows me. That never happens. No one's ever going to do that. Right. But you're going to be comfortable in your surroundings.
I actually say to clients when they're calling and meeting me, I was like, everyone's going to tell you. They all know the judges, the prosecutors. Yeah. I said, we all know everyone. I was like, it doesn't guarantee anyone results. So when you hear it, make sure you hear the follow-up of, it doesn't guarantee me a result, but what it allows me to do is explain to you, based on prior experience.
Yeah, I have people come to my office say, well, I'm choosing your firm because the adversary has this other firm and the judges like this other firm. I say that's not a reason to choose a law firm, and there's zero truth to that. I'm happy to talk to you about what we can do, but don't drink the Kool-Aid about that. It's not true.
Right. So you said it at the beginning, but when I asked about being a law clerk, was it the best year? But do you feel, you've been practicing 15 years now, you're sort of in that golden stride, you said golden ticket, but that stride of like confident in your ability, having your own clients and success, being a manager partner. Is this the best, like so far in the last 15 years of practicing?
Yeah, no question. It's very, very nice to have your own clients. It's very, very nice to have your own practice. It's something that I did not realize I would enjoy so much until it happened. Working on other people's files it's a great way to learn. It's a great way to do everything. But if you can learn to generate your own cases, and you can have your own referral sources, and you can have your own associates helping you out with things, you really do become more efficient. Your cases get bigger, your responsibilities get bigger. Now, at the same time, I tried an arbitration case 2 weeks ago, and I didn't sleep for that 2 weeks because I was nervous, and the jitters never go away. But having somebody help me and being the lead attorney on that, it was cool, and it was a very, very big case, and it went, hopefully it'll go great. We'll get the decision in a couple months. But it just was being where I am now, to have the clients and have the opportunity to lead at my firm and to really handle substantial cases on my own it's great. Seeing the leap that I did from Jacobs Barbone to being, writing the briefs to now being the one who's having the litigation strategy, it's cool. And you look back and you say, how the hell did that happen? And I guess it just happens with time, but I enjoy it. I also enjoy that I can choose. I can choose what I want to take. I can, if a client has a big case, if my bullshit meter's going up, or, I'm thinking, hey, this may be a bad client. It may be good money now, but a bad client later on, or it's just not something right for our firm, or the client wants me to do something I don't want to do. It's nice to have the opportunity to say, no, thank you. I appreciate it. No, thank you. And having the other opportunity of leading and having a strategic vision for a law firm and being a source of kind of guidance is really cool. It's something I never expected I'd be in a position to do, and I'm enjoying it very, very much.
So the asking, I always call this the money ask, which when I was a public defender, I would never had the confidence, ability, or skill to look somebody in the eye and say, these are my fees, right? And then also have clients say, oh, I didn't know it was going to be that much. And then I think different attorneys do different things. I'm at the point, I'm very busy. I've been trying to hire an associate for a long time. I can't take on many more cases because of the load I have. Yeah. And so sometimes I just say, like, those are my fees. I know what I'm bringing to the table. I'm sorry if that's not good for you. You're welcome to go to other law firms. So how did you learn to do the ask? How did you learn to look somebody in the eye? Because we don't learn this in law school, right?
We didn't learn any of this in law school. You don't learn, at Jacobs & Brown, I learned how to deal with clients. I learned how to talk to clients. I learned how to, the most important thing, don't bullshit clients, be honest with them, give bad news, don't sugarcoat. That was one of the best things I learned. It comes with it, I have done research about the firms our size in the area. I know what they charge. I am upfront with clients. Sometimes I tell them, don't retain me. We talked to somebody today, myself, an associate. He wanted to sue a neighbor for a $7,000 loan. I said, look, my associate can do the work at X amount of money, but if that guy's borrowing $7,000 and you get a judgment he's not going to be able to pay it back, or else he wouldn't be borrowing $7,000. So don't even pay us, don't even retain us. Go do it yourself. I'll give you the website. But at the same time, when we have big cases, I've never really had somebody say that's a crazy hourly rate except for an insurance company. And they always try to negotiate you down when you have to do defense work, the rare times we do it. It's been something that's evolved over time. This firm's really cool with, once, they're really sensitive about hourly rates. Once you have 2 years in, 3 years in, it's almost like an automatic adjustment to where you're keeping pace with the market. And we do a lot of research to find out, hey, this firm's charging $700 an hour. Let's come in at $600. Let's look like, because you also have to factor in there's a burn rate. There's a burn rate of, I'm probably not going to collect 20% of what I bill. In my practice, I'm lucky. I have a very small burn rate. I know. But family law, you carry huge ARs over and a huge burn rate. So sometimes you got to factor that in. But for the most part, it keeps pace with your experience, and then also your practice area.
I jokingly laugh about the burn rate because criminal lawyers' burn rate is probably higher than 20% at times. Yeah. And I've been in practice now 4 years. My first year, I, accepted very little down in order to take cases because I, was building a practice and I was concerned and all of that. And I'm now at like half up front, and then I will work with you. And I have clients that, will say, I'll pay if you just let me. And I'm like, nope, I've been through it. If people really knew how much, I know that if I finish a case before the payment is done, I'm never getting paid. Oh, yeah. Those are the things that, it's worse for criminal attorneys. You have corporate and other type of businesses. So
I have been very lucky with being able to say, if you're not paying, I'm not working. And, it's very rarely, unless you're close to a trial date, that really becomes an issue. But I've always operated with, if I'm doing a good job, I expect to be compensated for it. If you have an issue with, the job I'm doing, let's talk about it. But with criminal, it's definitely different. You can definitely expect to never see the second part of those payments. But I think lawyers live in fear, at least I do, of ethics. You never want to have any bad mark in your name. You never want to have, to be in front of the OAE or anything like that. And, you live in fear of the fee arb. You live in fear of the, messing up a trust account, those type of things. So, if you're charging a client $2,000 an hour, that's going to be tough to say, hey, I did work that justifies that $2,000 an hour.
Correct.
And you're also not going to be able to do the work that's necessary in the file because you'll bill a $300,000 fee on a $200,000 case, and then you haven't done right by your client. So the relationships in the case dictates everything. Dictates the retainer, dictates, am I going to do the work at a higher hourly rate? Am I going to have my associate do some of the work at a lower hourly rate? Because the last thing you want to do is hurt your client on fees when it doesn't dictate it. That's never a good way to treat a client.
Right. Have you sat on the ethics committee or fee arb or done any of that?
I have not. Nor have I. I've had that conversation.
So I have been chair of our district ethics. I've sat on the ethics committee for years and years. And I used to come back from every meeting and then institute new procedures and policies at the office.
Yeah.
And the same with fee arb, I definitely, if for whatever reason there's a client who decides that maybe I'm not the right fit, and I say to people, I'm really good at what I do, I might not be the right fit for you.
Yeah.
There's a personality component to representation, and this is your life and freedom, and I totally understand it. Same with fee arb. If they say I want my fee, want a return of money, I do a very specific look at what I did.
Sure.
And if there's reason to return it, I don't argue over it. I usually return more than is asked for because I'm not the same reason. You don't want to quibble over and deal with a fee arb or an ethics issue over, a client or one case. And one case, if one case is going to make or break your business, then there's a problem with your business model.
That's
right?
exactly right. No, it's 100% right. It's never worth it. And we trade on our reputations. The last thing that we want to do is have somebody out there bad-mouthing us or have that unfortunate, knock on wood, ethics issue. It's just like any other business. It's keeping the clientele happy. Clients will come back. And the last thing you want to do is have somebody scorned out there attacking you.
Yeah, I agree. So I think we both have that same philosophy too of work hard, be nice.
Yeah.
And I say be nice to everyone in the courts because, it's amazing how the court staff, sheriff's officers will be willing to help you when you're kind to them because they're doing their job and you're doing your job,
That's being a nice person is, if you walk in there demanding, you know who I am, blah, 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 that's not going to get you far, even where in the county or the town where you practice.
No, I hear you. So I'm going to start to wrap this up. I have two questions that I've been asking most people during this season of the Mighty Merp podcast. The first has to do with law school. And I don't know if you know this, but my daughter is graduating from college in May.
Don't let her go to law school.
It's don't the do question.
It. Oh, you love your daughter. Don't do it. What are you doing to her? Come on.
It's so funny. Every attorney feels passionate about this. Say no is what you say.
No, absolutely. Unless she knows what she wants to do, there is such a level of stress with being a litigation attorney that it's impossible to explain. And I try to say it to my wife, she thinks I'm crazy, but just waking up at 2 a.m, sending yourself emails, things go wrong. It's a horrible. It's fun doing it, and it's really great putting this whole big project together and executing it. But looking back on it, I don't want to put my kids through the stress that I've been through. I just don't. And also, I've had no lawyers in the family. I've kind of paved my own path. I want them to pave their own path. I think that that's really important to me, is they figure out what they want to do and pave their own path. But don't do it to her. Don't please.
Don't do it. So don't you think there's something about the way we learn to think, though, and analyze things and argue things as a lawyer that has been different than anything else? I mean, the truth is, I've said to her, if you want to do it, go do it. And if you don't, Don't, but I think it's so funny, the question to every lawyer, because whatever their position is, and there's a lot of attorneys that have told her don't do it, and there's a lot of attorneys that say absolutely. It's pretty extreme though. The reaction is your reaction is
Oh
either
yeah,
absolutely not or absolutely yes. It's no
yeah.
like,
I don't know why. Maybe it's just me, but I really want them to figure out organically what they want to do without being influenced with what I did, because I got very lucky. I had so much luck in where I am right now. It's unbelievable. I didn't have a parent, a nephew. I had no connections, nothing. I'm in Monmouth County. I'm from Philadelphia. So I had nothing but luck and opportunity. 9 times out of 10, they're not. And I don't want them to go through the same worries and stress that I did. But yeah, but it is fun. Your mind changes. Cross-examining 5.5-year-old twins is so easy. When they think that they're getting something on me, I can crush them and high-five myself. So it does help in that regard.
yeah. Well, when my youngest was 5, I think I was losing those arguments then, but not bad. 1 out of 4,
I know. I could. You put me and 2 5-year-old twins in court, I'll win.
There you go. It's funny that you said you didn't have any family. I didn't have any family either, and sort of kind of paved my own road. Nobody was a lawyer. I didn't have any of those connections. But I would tell you that you say it's luck, and I would say it's grit, which you can't teach, hard work, opportunity, and then luck. I think it's like a combination of all of it.
You got to take advantage of your opportunities, no question. But, I can't tell you how many people I went to law school with who either are not lawyers or are, doing something that does not have the benefits and freedom that I'm doing right now. I'm very lucky, knock on wood. A lot of it was hard work. I didn't say I didn't work hard, grit, everything else. But I don't know. I don't want them to go through that 10 years of craziness. I want them to come out of college and say, we're going to be brain surgeons and we have scholarships.
There you go. Well, I wish you luck on that. The last final question is my crazy courtroom story question. And you are a trial attorney. You've been practicing a long time. Do you have a crazy courtroom story that you'd be willing to share on the Mighty MERP?
I do, and it's my first trial, and this is 100% true. I started Jacobs Boone. I think Ed Jacobs is on a very big federal trial, because I didn't see him for a while in the beginning. He would go on these very big, substantial federal trials in Philadelphia or other places, and you just wouldn't see him for a while because he's basically living there, breathing that, living that trial. My second week in, I get handed a file. This is a client, a friend of Ed's. He owns a body shop. The guy's getting sued in special civil. Go represent him, defend him. I had only been in the civil court like once or twice to serve as a mediator. I had always worked out of the criminal court in Atlantic County. I go to civil court, special civil. It's a lot of stuff going on. And trial. Okay. I go up. It's Judge Kane. I go up to the bench. I probably didn't object once to the plaintiff. Maybe, I can't remember, but I just remember that it's my turn and I start presenting the defense. And I just get the sense that nobody really is taking me seriously. And every time I'm talking, I'm presenting, I'm showing the pictures, and the sheriff's officer keeps going up to the judge and talking to him. And I'm just, I'm white with, my face is just like they're making fun of me. I'm not doing a good job. They're laughing at me. I'm screwing something up here. And I just never got the sense that I got anyone's real attention. I'm talking, and then it's same thing. I'm showing this. Hey, here's the color palette. It's what he ordered. Judge says, all right, ruling for the defense. It's the color palette's the same. And next case, I run out of there. I'm like, okay, I won, but I feel like the Jacobs Barbone's going to get a call and say, hey, the lawyer you sent in really messed up. He was laughable, blah, blah, blah. Because the whole, a lot of times when I'm presenting evidence, the sheriff's officer's talking to Judge Kane. I go back and one of the lawyers says, you idiot, Judge Kane is blind. The sheriff's officer was explaining some of the evidence to him. I had no idea. No idea.
Who called you the idiot, though? That's what I want to know.
It was probably Art. It was probably Art. But I had no idea. And I had no idea. And to this day, people think I made that up. It's 100% true. He ruled for me, which means he made a great decision. But on top of that, I just walked out going, I can't believe I did not pick that up. And I can't believe that, I sat there saying they're making fun of me when it was something totally different. So that's my funny story. It will live with me to the day I die, and it should be in a movie starring me.
Starring you, yeah.
Starring me as me, yes. Oscar.
Not as the judge. You don't think now you would need to be more of a judge than the young, wide-eyed, bright attorney coming in?
This beard just needs to go up here, and I'm good.
There you go. Well, thank you so much for talking to me about where you are now and understanding a managing partner role. As I said, it's me and my staff. I think I need to start writing an HR book. Should I admit that we don't have any formal rules here? It's sort of, you want a vacation day, take a vacation day. You want a sick day, take a sick day at my office. So,
no, but it'll make it a lot easier for me to sue you, so that's okay.
There you go. Darn it. I just won't give my staff your information. Thanks again, Eric. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Mighty Merp Podcast. This podcast is not a source of legal advice. No two legal cases are the same. Contact an attorney if you require legal assistance. Mighty Merp is a production of the Law Office of Melissa Rosenblum and the Niche Podcast Network.